Hi, I'm Dara, and this is A Right Way. I want to take a moment to talk about the concept of premise. Every story, whether it's a film, a TV show, a novel, a play, everything has a premise at its core. And a premise is the overall message. As a storyteller, you never want to be heavy handed with the premise. You want the audience to go on the journey and come to that conclusion on their own. But it is the core value of everything. So, some basic premises that come to mind, which are common in a lot of stories, are something like crime never pays or true love conquers all. These are core premises, and if we start a story with one of those key premises, we want to keep the entire theme centered around that message without beating our audience members over the head with it. Basically, showing and not telling, and finding a way to allow them to just pick out the special story beats and all of the things that happen that help us to understand, like, okay, crime doesn't pay. For example, if we take a popular film like Goodfellas, you can go on the journey with that character and see how he's immersed in a life of crime initially, and then over time, he takes a couple of hits, and I don't want to give away all of the ending of the movie, but probably many of you have seen it already. In the end, we kind of come to understand that crime doesn't pay. But there's a little bit of a twist and as to how things turn out for that character, but the overall theme remains that it doesn't pay. If you watch a movie like The Notebook, once again, the essential premise of the story is true love conquers all. So through all of the years and different changes that these two characters experience, the true love that binds them never changes. And there are so many different examples of this in film and television, also in books, and everything has a premise. So whenever I start a story, I always think about what that premise is going to be, and that is the guiding light for how I craft the entire piece. And for you as a writer, I think it's important to start off with a premise that's directly aligned with your personal values. It's very hard to, write something that is not reflective of who you are as a person. It's very challenging to, spend the amount of time and creative energy and effort to just come up with something that, isn't really like, okay, I'm writing this, but I don't truly believe it in my soul. I'm just going through the motions. And oftentimes that does show in your work. So, especially when you're starting the writing process as a beginning writer and you just want to get something out into the world and show what you can do creatively, I think it is essential that you actually write something that you're like, okay, this is an extension of who I am. In some ways, that first script that you write or the first few things that you actually finish, you may almost think of them as family members. Sometimes we call them our quote unquote babies, if you will, and they become that special to you. So there's really no way that you can go through all of this and start off with a premise you don't believe in. But long before you get to characters or themes or log lines and plots, etc., start with a core premise that resonates with you. And crime never pays and true love conquers all. Okay, those are two super simple, basic ones. But there could be other ones that touch closer to your heart. Like, women deserve equal opportunity in the world, the same as men. That could be a premise of a story that you craft, and each particular thing that happens to the characters is a deeper reflection on that. You could want to speak to something that's true to your heart, whether it's a social justice cause or anything that you feel hasn't, even if it's a message about income inequality, or any number of things that can be boiled down to a simple premise. I always believe in having something that still is simple overall, but can be broken down in such a way where the audience can, you know, enjoy it like little bites, and they absorb more and more. And by the end, they've come to that conclusion on their own accord. It's so exciting as an audience member when you're watching something and maybe you don't even agree with the premise of the piece, but it's so well crafted that you can't help but, you know, be impressed. And if you're really good, if the story is next level, it may even offer a new perspective that you didn't think about. So I believe strongly that whatever that premise is, make sure that it lives inside of that script. Every scene should move the story forward to help paint that picture and come back to that again and again and again, but in subtle and intuitive ways so that it never feels preachy, because audiences will immediately turn away and be turned off by something that feels heavy-handed. So that's basically my take on the whole premise idea, and why it's so important to start with one that's reflective of what you truly feel in your heart and your soul. Thank you for watching.